All right, it's my pleasure now to introduce Gerrye Wong. She is the co-founder of the Chinese Historical and Cultural Project. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm so proud to be here at this wonderful occasion because my heart is just bursting with happiness that at long last, our great city of San Jose is recognizing and acknowledging the too oftentimes sad treatment that was flung on the Chinese for too many years since they first came here in 1866. Think of that. It's been 155 years since Chinese pioneers first came to San Jose seeking new and better lives for their families and themselves. The people struggled against a very non-welcoming environment. The worst being the time when their largest Chinatown of 1,400 people was publicly banned by the city mayor and city council and ultimately burned to the ground. Now, I grew up in San Jose, and in the 1940s, I lived right down there in downtown 2nd Street in an old Victorian house that is now proclaimed a historic landmark. That distinction is not because I live there. I may look it, but I'm not that old. Seriously, I want to explain discrimination felt by the Chinese even at the time I was growing up. My family, like other Chinese, were not welcome to buy property here during World War II days when China was actually America's ally. Think about that. My father was managing the second largest department store in downtown San Jose, but yet he and his Chinese employees were not allowed to purchase a place near their work. When I tell my grandson Braden in the front row here, this unjust treatment was happening as recently as 70 years ago, it's hard for he and members of his generation to grasp the discrimination practices that even I felt. So I've often been asked, how did I, a fourth-generation Chinese American, get involved in my passion of preserving Chinese history? So let me tell you that way back in the mid-1940s when I was growing up in San Jose, as Connie said, the longest-lasting Chinatown, Islandville, was gone. But the Shingon Temple, which was being threatened at that time, was still there, ready for demolition by the city. My father was a spokesman who went before the then San Jose City Council pleading to save the historic building, and he won a short reprieve of 3 years. But sadly, during that time, we moved away, and with no other spokesman coming forward, the city destroyed the building. The last standing remnant of the San Jose Chinatown in 1950. Obviously, my father was very sad. He had failed in his job. But in 1986, a group of concerned Chinese citizens, upon learning of the discovery of artifacts found under this very same location here at the Market Street Chinatown, decided it was time to remember those strugglers. And I helped with many of my cohorts here to co-found the Chinese Historical and Cultural Project exactly 100 years after the fire. Yes, they all should take a bow, every one of them. Our goal was to establish a museum to preserve and present the Chinese history of San Jose, and our shining moment came in 1991 when we gloriously cut the ribbons and presented a replica of the Shingon Temple building to the city of San Jose as a token of ongoing friendship towards a new future of happier times. I sometimes think that maybe my dad up there was guiding my destiny to get that building rebuilt. And let me brag for all of my CHCP cohorts. Where are you? Raise your hand, all you CHCP people. Let me brag for all of them. That building stands proudly, welcoming over 1,000 children annually for the last few years because the CHCP funded field trips for schools in underserved communities in San Jose. And they came to visit the Museum of Chinese American History that is located still in San Jose's History Park. So my heart is just pounding. Where's my doctor? Just telling you about my dad's and my legacy, because I have a secret to tell you. He never told me about his role in trying to save the building until I told him 35 years later I was working to rebuild the replica. And only then did he tell me how sad and devastated he felt when it was demolished. So is that deja vu or what is it? I don't know. But on this 30th anniversary of our partnership with the city and opening of our museum doors, which was attended by then San Jose mayors Tom McHenry and Susan Hammer, I stand proudly beside our mayor today, Sam Liccardo, thanking our city council members for taking this long-awaited step towards reconciliation by this resolution of apology of a sad history of wrongdoings perpetuated against the Chinese citizens of the past. So on behalf of all of you, the Chinese American community of today, I thank you with a heart still beating, bursting this time, but with pride of all the communities that are joining together today with all of you in the spirit of friendship and reconciliation in a world of no more anti-Asian hate.
Thank you very much, Gerrye.